As we mentioned, the White House today rescinded its directive freezing all federal grants and loans. The memo from the White House Budget Office caused much confusion and led to a court action putting the order on hold. It also raised questions as to executive power over spending already authorized by Congress. Joining us now is attorney Stephen Montoya, partner at Montoya, Lucero and Pastor. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
What is an executive order? What is a directive? How much force of law do these things have?
A lot, as a practical matter. The president is the highest elected official in the national government. He has a lot of constitutional authority as commander-in-chief. He's head of the executive branch. No one wants to disagree with the president, especially this president. So an executive order does have something very close to the force of law. It cannot overrule a decision by the Supreme Court of the United States. It's not supposed to conflict with an act of Congress. The problem is that the president has the right to his own opinion regarding the constitutionality of the laws passed by Congress, and can say, hey, listen, I don't think that law is constitutional. I don't have to follow it. And hence, we have the creation of constitutional crises.
Well, yeah, but that still means that you'll have court action to figure this thing out. It's not just I say this, X, Y, especially in this. These were statutes passed by Congress. This was money that was already allocated, money already taken from tax.
Correct.
This is supposed to go out, and now all of a sudden, what, you pull the plug?
It really does, in my opinion, clearly violate the separation of powers. Just as importantly, it violates a congressional statute passed in 1974 after Richard Nixon refused to spend all the money allocated by Congress on the Clean Water Act. He spent about half of it and said he didn't have to spend the rest. The city of New York sued him. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, where President Nixon lost 9-0 in an opinion authored by a conservative, Associate Justice White, joined by the liberals, Brennan and Marshall, and the conservative Rehnquist of Arizona.
And didn't something happen in the mid-'90s regarding line item vetoes?
Yes, but however, what happened in reference to the 90s and Bill Clinton was the Supreme Court considered the law and said it was unconstitutional. But that law did not violate the separation of powers. That violated the presentment clause.
So, bottom line, does the president have the power to basically block spending that Congress has authorized?
I do not believe that the president has that power, and I don't think that power is consistent with the structure of our government. Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution, all legislative power is vested in Congress. Article 1, Section 6, the spending clause, Congress has the power to tax, it has the power to spend. The president doesn't have any of those powers. So it would really usurp congressional authority and turn our government on its head to give the president that power. And that conclusion is underscored by the fact that he does have one power. He has the veto power.
Right.
But if he doesn't exercise that power, or if he exercises it and that veto is overridden by Congress, he has to obey the law that Congress passes like everyone else does.
And the impoundment law, and so we're talking about impoundment law, is
correct.
Taken care of.
That's the word.
Yes. That could be reversed by a Congress, could it not?
It could. However, the Supreme Court of the United States in a 1975 case, the Train versus City of New York case, that wasn't a constitutional case. That was a statutory case. And the court looked at the Clean Water Act and said, hey, Congress didn't give the president the right to reduce the spending, so the president doesn't have that right. So the court really, in effect, concluded that inherent in passing laws meant that the president might have the power to veto the law, But if he did not veto it, or if his veto was overridden, he had to comply with the law.
What about the phrase, though, in the impoundment law, the president shall take care that the law be faithfully executed? What does that mean?
I think it means that the president has to execute the law that Congress passed unless he vetoes it and his veto is not overridden. Faithfully executing the law. See, in this particular case, when you read the OMB directive,
Yes.
it was essentially saying, hey, I don't agree with this law, so it's social engineering, Marxist equity,
The proponents say that
transgenderism.
that's him faithfully executing the law.
Well, but see, the Congress has the right to decide policy. The power to legislate is the inherent power to decide policy. If policy thinks that Marxist equity and transgenderism and the Green New Deal are what we need to do, that's Congress's right. And the law that the president faithfully executes are the law that Congress passes.
Interesting. So it's not his opinion of whether or not it's faithfully executed. You faithfully execute it.
The way if you tell me, hey, this is my shopping list.
Yes.
Go buy my groceries.
Yes.
Oh, no, this is not a very healthy diet. I think I'm going to have to buy you more fruits and vegetables and get rid of the bread and the candy.
All right.
That's not faithfully executing your list.
I'm not happy about that, but I guess that's the law, isn't it?
That is the law, in my view. But I also think that's the Supreme Court's view. And I also think that the language of the Constitution mandates that.
Real quickly before you go, is that this Supreme Court's view?
I think that's this Supreme Court's view too, because remember the Train versus New York City case, the conservatives and the liberals spoke in one voice in that case. And this is something that goes to the heart of the separation of powers. Now, the president does have the right to veto, which is a powerful right. But once he exercises that right, he has to go with the law that Congress passes.
Stephen Montoya, great conversation as always. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir.